17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Cellular Field.
Yep. Tabby here, 1-2.
Sportsnet. Presented by the 2015 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
A cool July evening here on a Tuesday night on the south side. Felix Dubrat, the starter, tosses the ball over there, and Russell Martin greeting the Toronto Blue Jays fans as we get set. The All-Star John Gibbons, the lineup as the White Sox take the field to fireworks here, is put together like this: Jose Reyes, Josh Donaldson, Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion, followed by Russell Martin. Chris Colabello of the last 19 games hitting .324 with 4 home runs and 12 RBIs. And down there at the bottom of the 9th spot, it's Devin Travis on the road. He's 5 for 14. He has driven in 3. Colabello did a great job last night in the 3rd as he hit a solo home run. And the left-hander on the hill for the White Sox, Tabby, Jose Quintana.
26-year-old Jose Quintana making his 17th start of the season, 8th here at home, his first against the Blue Jays. Last time out was against the St. Louis Cardinals on July the 1st. Earned his 4th win of the season. That snapped a 3-start winless streak for Quintana. The record not so good. He just doesn't get a whole lot of runs. A 4-7 record with a very good earned run average. This is his 7th career start versus the Blue Jays and the 4th here at U.S. Cellular Field.
And run support, Tabby, 2.72 this season. And that's second lowest mark in the American League as we take a look at his defense. Cabrera, Eaton, and Garcia, the outfield. And in the infield, Beckham, Ramirez, Sanchez, and Abreu at first in the battery. Quintana and Flowers.
This outfield for the Chicago White Sox can really throw. They are 3rd in the American League in outfield assists, and that big guy out in right field, Abisail Garcia, has 9 of them. Leonis Martin is number 1 in the major leagues. Garcia number 2 in the major league in outfield assists with 9. The Baltimore Orioles have 24. Minnesota have 22. And the Chicago White Sox have 21 outfield assists. So the Blue Jay base runners are going to have to be heads up, and they're going to have to run with their heads up on the bases tonight.
A cool, crisp evening, 14 degrees. We went from a 28, 29 degree day to 14. Fans with blankets and toques. It's July on the south side, and it's baseball, Tabby.
But it's dry.
Yes, it is. The rain did come hard last night. Fast and furious, in fact. Feels like we're at a ball game in San Francisco instead of Chicago. And there you go. See, you need your toque on a night like tonight.
I asked the guys at the hotel today, what month is it? Is it July or is it September?
And there's a strike to Jose Reyes. Last night committed that error. And a costly one. And he said, there's no excuse. I need to make that play. The ball didn't do anything. It was a ground ball right to me. So that had to be an out right there. And that's why we lost the game.
I like how he's standing up for himself. He's probably made that play thousands, and I mean thousands of times. But last night he just lifted that glove up a little bit too quickly. The ball stayed down, and unfortunately for the Blue Jays, it led to a big inning for the White Sox.
Says so much about Mark Burley after that. Went in the dugout and tapped Jose Reyes. Just has that mindset. What the ultimate teammate, Mark Burley. It was one heck of a game last night. The Blue Jays did end up losing. Chris Sale did not reach 10 strikeouts, so he's tied with Pedro Martinez as Reyes fouls this pitch back for 8 straight games in which he struck out 10 or more.
How fun was that game though last night, watching those two left-handers go about their thing?
Game took only 154. It was the fastest game in the big since August 9th, as this one is shot through the right side. How about this, Tabby? Fastest game in the big since August 9th of 2011. The Royals and the Rays. They went 153, and it had 2 replays last night that were reviewed.
Yeah, they didn't have that in 2011, no. So we had 2 of them. It probably would have knocked off 10 minutes off of that ball game. Nice piece of hitting right there by Jose Reyes. The curveball from Quintana, and he punches it into right field. First inning has been a tough inning for the Chicago White Sox. They have been outscored 64-22. So the Blue Jays off and running here in the first.
The All-Star Donaldson, as the lefty Quintana checks in. In his last 13 starts, just 3-6. His ERA 2.99. The lefty working out of the stretch, and the pitch to Donaldson is in there for a strike. Donaldson hit a home run in the 6th inning, was 2 for 3, and hit by a pitch last night. And at that stage it was 2-1, and you thought that the Blue Jays had it, but unfortunately an error there late in the bottom of the 8th inning, and 3 runs eventually came around to score. Great thing about baseball, there's another game.
Mañana.
Yep.
Another game tomorrow. And I think that's the mindset that the Blue Jays have to have coming into tonight's game.
Reyes is running. Here's a throw from Flowers, and it's not in time. That is his 11th stolen base. He's been caught just once, Tabby.
You know, the Blue Jays have to take advantage of the stolen base, I think, tonight. Tyler Flowers has had all kind of problems trying to throw out base runners. He's just 3 for 36 coming into this game here. Good jump by Reyes. Slow to get rid of that ball, and it's an easy stolen base for Jose. You see him slip just a little bit right at the beginning of that move towards second base. Ground still a little bit wet, a little bit soft around first base, but take advantage of the catcher throwing tonight.
Runner in scoring position, Donaldson. Ground ball chopper left side, scooped up by the third baseman, and now Reyes will take third. Good job by Reyes on the throw, racing over to third base. Donaldson on the ground ball moves the runner to third base.
Up by Jose reading that ball. I thought initially he could break on that. Anytime the third baseman has to vacate his position, you are, as a runner at second base, can go ahead and go. You see him wait to let that third baseman come across, and then it's doesn't even have to dive, as there wasn't even a throw over to third base, but a good heads-up play by Jose Reyes. And now with the first inning, the White Sox are going to play the infield back.
And a pitch inside. Bautista last night hitless in 4 trips to the plate. Cabrera, his former teammate, playing toward the line in left field. And a pitch is called a strike. Working the plate is Greg Gibson. Marvin Hudson at first, Chad Fairchild at second, and Sam Holbrook, who had the pleasure of working last night's game, was behind the plate. The lefty with a 1-1, and the pitch is up and in, and the count now 2 balls and 1 strike.
That's what I like about Quintana. He's not afraid to pitch inside. I think he's going to have to show Bautista, Encarnacion, Donaldson, Martin, Colabello, all the right-handed hitters that the Blue Jays have, that he will pitch inside with that fastball.
Foul back this way, and that's a second strike on the batter, Bautista. Jose, in 7 career at-bats against Quintana, has a hit. It's a home run. 2-2 the count. The lefty reads the signs from Flowers. At third base is Reyes. Can the Jays get on the board? And the pitch is down and in, and the count now runs full.
Boy, did he ever overthrow that breaking ball right there. Just trying to get the strikeout from Bautista. Overthrew it, bounced it. A nice play by Flowers behind the plate to keep that ball in front of him. The curveball's been a lot better over the last month and a half or so for Quintana. You can tell he really spiked that one, that he really overthrew it trying to get the strikeout.
Full count pitch. Ground ball chopper, and that'll score a run and an RBI for Bautista as Ramirez throws it over to first base. There are 2 away, and a run is in.
That's all you have to do. Runner on third base, less than 2 outs. You've got 2 strikes. You don't want to strike out. You don't want to pop that ball up. Cut your swing down just a little bit. Keep that ball in the middle of the diamond and get yourself an easy RBI. Number 58 on the season for Jose, and Blue Jays take a quick 1-0 lead here in the first inning.
Base hit and a couple of ground balls after a stolen base. You don't think of the Blue Jays manufacturing runs, but they did there.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to. You saw Chris Sale last night, outstanding. Quintana's the same type of pitcher. His ERA is just, what is it, 3.8? It's pretty darn good also.
Well, and over his last 7 starts, it's 2.78. It was 4.67, and then that stretch started of 7 great outings for him, and it's down to 3.81. Encarnacion fouls this one back. He last night had a couple of base hits, a couple of singles. 2 away here in the top of the first inning. Blue Jays lead 1-0. Getting on the board for the 3rd consecutive game first.
Yeah, and the White Sox give up a run in the first inning again. That's their 65th this season.
Shift is on, and the pitch. Swing and a miss. Encarnacion has faced Quintana 10 times, has 3 hits, a home run, and 2 RBIs. And the pitch is high and away. You know, if you're Jose Reyes, you get on board with a base hit, you steal a bag, come around the score saying, all right, another day, another game, get that one last night behind me.
Yeah, forget about it. Yeah, and it's already gone.
Yep, excellent job by him. Ground ball chopper foul. On a cool evening here in Chicago. Unexpectedly cool. Quintana, the lefty, originally signed by the New York Mets in 2006. He was released by the Mets in 2007. Ground ball handled by Beckham and over to first base, and that's going to do it. After the base hit, 3 ground balls. However, a run does score. Jose Reyes, a base hit, a stolen base, and a run scored. 1-0 Jays. Evening reads like this: Adam Eaton, Jose Abreu, Melky Cabrera, Avisail Garcia. Abreu, his career against the Blue Jays, 11 a game, 6 extra base hits and 13 runs driven in. Cabrera against Dubront, 3 for 8. LaRoche, Ramirez, Beckham, Flowers, and Sanchez. They'll all face the left-hander, Felix Dubront.
Making his 2015 debut as a starter tonight for the Blue Jays. There are his numbers, pitching out of relief in Detroit. He last started for the Cubs on September the 20th, 2014. That was against the Dodgers. He was signed by the Blue Jays after the Cubs released him at the end of spring training. Signed by the Blue Jays on April the 2nd. This is his 5th career start versus the Chicago White Sox tonight.
2-1 with the 3.80 ERA in his career against the White Sox, who are hitting .256 against him. All of his starts came in 2012 and 13 as Adam Eaton looks at a pitch high. And the count 1-1. Donaldson in on the grass at third base. Jays lead 1-0. And Dubront has it fouled off to the left side. You know, John Gibbons, Tabby, was asked about Dubront. And look, at the end of the day, it's going to be up to Felix Dubront. I mean, you talked about the different players that have, pitchers that have come through in this spot before. And it's right there for the taking, this opportunity, as Eaton goes down and there's one away.
You know, you're absolutely right. They're trying to figure out what to do with the spot for Aaron Sanchez, who's on the disabled list, and they've tried a couple of different other pitchers in this spot. If you pitch well, you get to keep pitching, and you stay on this team, and you keep doing it. They don't know what to expect from Dubront tonight. They're hoping that he pitches well. What they do know is he's just going to have to get that breaking ball over. He's going to have to get that changeup over, and I think if he does that, he will have success against the White Sox.
Jose Abreu is the batter. Aaron Sanchez did work 2 innings today for the Gulf Coast Blue Jays. And John Gibbons said, look, right now we're gearing up for him to come back as a starter, because there's been so much speculation that he would come back and work out of the pen.
Yeah, and just be a 1-inning reliever or a 1+ reliever. I said, okay, we're going to build him up as a starter because his value to us is as a starter. And he'll start getting on a throwing program where he throws every 5th day.
0-2 ground ball handled by Donaldson, and the strong throw over to first base, and there's 2 down here in the bottom of inning number 1, and the defense behind Dubront Out of the outfield, Valencia, Pilar in center, and Bautista in right field. In the infield, you just saw Donaldson. Jose Reyes on the right side, Devin Travis, the rookie, and Chris Colabello, who hit a home run last night against Chris Sale. Dubront and Martin.
And out the outfield in his normal position, that's Kevin Pilar. He's played in 81 of the 85 games this year for the Blue Jays. And last night he was at it again with another great catch in center field. He has been spectacular, to say the least, in center field this year.
Tabby, you're so right. Took one away from Tyler Flowers in the 5th inning. Flowers thought that he may have had his 8th home run as Cabrera lines this one through the left side on the ground, and it's a base hit, a 2-out base hit.
Milky is starting to heat up, and unfortunately it's against his former team. He came up with the big base hit last night, the 2-run double. That was the difference in last night's game, and here in the 1st inning rips that ball in the left field for his first hit.
Only hitting .208 as a right-handed hitter, but with 2 outs he's aboard at first, and Avisail Garcia is the batter. 277, 7 home runs, and 30 runs driven in, and the pitch is down and in. And a new baseball for Dubront. John Gibbons went on to say, he said, look, as far as Felix Dubront is concerned, this is a situation that we signed him for. Here's your shot.
Yep.
Here it is. Let's see what you can do. Broken bat. Donaldson goes the short way over to second. And that's going to do it in the bottom of inning number 1. 1-0 Jays. Let's go to the second.
On Sportsnet weekdays, and lots of great guests on their show, including today when they had Blue Jays GM Alex Anthopoulos on. And Alex talked mostly about the upcoming trade deadline. And while he says right now the market is very, very slow, he does sound confident that the Blue Jays will definitely be able to upgrade in the pitching department. He says right now his preference is to deal solely prospects and not off the 25-man roster. However, if it comes to a situation where prospects won't get them what they're looking to get, he is willing to get creative, as he says, and if that means trading a hitter off his 25-man roster. And he looked back to the trade last year between the Red Sox and the A's that sent Cespedes to Boston for John Lester. So right now it is slow, but he even admitted he had a talk today with the GM who was asking for one of those more creative deals. We still have a few weeks to go till the end of the month. Alex Anthopoulos is definitely, though, working on upgrading the Blue Jays starting pitching. Matt?
All right, Barry, appreciate it. And the pitch to Russell Martin is a strike. As far as the timeline, listening into the interview on Tim and Sid, Alex Anthopoulos said after the All-Star break, said more than likely as the earliest something would get done.
There's too many teams, I think, who feel like they're still in it, or they're just not sure if they're going to stay in it. 2 weeks from now, that's going to all change. And teams, I think, will have a better understanding of where they are. Plus, why would you pull off a trade right now when 3 weeks from now you might be able to get a better deal? Right now, everybody's asking for the moon, right?
Absolutely.
You don't want to show your hand too early. That's why those things always get done on the last day, don't they?
Count now 1-2. Quintana rocks back and deals, and the pitch is swung on and missed. One away here in the top of the second. The end of the last half inning. Melky Cabrera had a big night last night, saying hey to Jose Reyes.
Those two did that constantly last year. They would just get on each other. When Melky would head out towards left field, he'd always smack Reyes right in the head like that. And that time he did it with the helmet. Sure, that didn't feel too good for Jose Reyes, huh?
Cabrera last night, 2 for 4 runs scored and 2 RBIs. Had the big one in the bottom of the 8th inning. A double and driving in 2 to win it for the White Sox. The 0-1 now to Colabello off the end of the bat. Chopped down the line, scooped up Quintana in time. As Abreu is able to dig it out. That one was hugging the third base line, and Colabello unable to leg it out. And they're looking over in the dugout.
One more time, he squibs it off the end of the bat. This ball stays true right in the grass. Quintana sets his feet, turns his back right there. Look how quickly he gets rid of it, and it's dug out by Abreu. And I don't think the Blue Jays are going to take a look at this one. But nice play by Quintana and Abreu to record the second out.
Two-away, top of the second inning. Quintana, I mentioned how he was originally signed by the Mets and then released by the Mets in 2007, signed by the Yankees in 2008, signed again with the Yankees in 2010, and eventually, as Valencia takes a strike, eventually on November 9th of 2011 signed with the White Sox. He made his debut on May 7th of 2012. Valencia hits it hard to the third baseman Beckham, but Beckham's able to come up with it, and it's a 1-2-3 in the top of the second. 1-0 Blue Jays here in Chicago.
At tonight's newest starter for the Toronto Blue Jays, Felix Doubront. He has spent 5 seasons already in the major leagues with the Boston Red Sox. He was later traded in 2014, right at the trade deadline, to the Chicago Cubs. They released him in spring training. Blue Jays signed him as a free agent this past April. They got him into shape. They got him down into Buffalo, activated him the first part of May. Had some decent numbers down in Buffalo, and here he is in the big leagues. told you in the opening that he won 11 games twice in the big leagues, in 2012 and 2013 with the Boston Red Sox. They ping-ponged him back and forth from the starting rotation. They pitch him out of the bullpen a little bit, then back into the starting rotation. He's got a good arm. He just has to be able to get his breaking ball and his changeup over.
Pitch in the dirt. Adam LaRoche, Alexi Ramirez, and Gordon Beckham here in the bottom of the second. Made 9 starts in Buffalo. Had a 2.44 ERA. 43 strikeouts, 18 walks this season.
There's the good curveball right there. If he can get that thing over, and then with his changeup, get that over, doesn't have to nibble too much tonight. Go right after him. Good things are going to happen.
Yeah, swing and a miss there. His second strikeout. He made his big league debut, Tabby, and back on June 18th of 2010 at the age of 22 with the Boston Red Sox against the Dodgers. Worked 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, 3 earned runs, and he got the victory. 5 years in Boston, an overall mark of 26 and 22 with an ERA just under 5. Off the end of the bat, Ramirez, and a nice play by Donaldson racing in. 2 down here in the bottom of the second inning, and the numbers from Boston.
And there they are, an ERA just under 5. Very inconsistent. One time he'll be outstanding, and other times he'll get rocked. Opponent's batting average is at .265. The whip is a little bit high at about a runner and a half per inning. But he's got the good arm. You can see the 8 strikeouts per 9 innings number. He's got that going for him. And he has had success against the White Sox in his young career.
2-1. And there's a strike called to the batter, Gordon Beckham, hitting .203, 4 homers, 16 RBIs, a third baseman. 10th different starter for the Blue Jays. And it's fair as it gets by Donaldson. And Beckham's going to head into second base with a stand-up double, scooped up by Valencia and thrown in a 2-out double. White Sox got a 2-out single back in the bottom of the first.
This one looked like it went right over the corner of the bag. Clearly fair. And I think what John Gibbons might be arguing about, not fair or foul, but was that ball touched some way down that line. That was clearly fair. It actually bounced over the bag and in fair territory when it passed the bag. Well, he had his say. Now he's going to head right back to the dugout.
Tyler Flowers, the catcher, will hit here. Dubron. Looks back at second. And the pitch is in there, a strike. In his first game for the Blue Jays, he came in out of the bullpen in relief of Drew Hutchison in Detroit. He worked 2 1/3, 3 hits, a run. It was earned. Didn't walk anyone. Had 1 strikeout. And the pitch is up and in, and it hits Flowers. And now runners at first and second for the number 9 hitter, Carlos Sanchez.
Felix was actually in the bullpen last night for the Blue Jays. That's how it's been going for him. He was in the bullpen just in case Mark Burley got knocked out early or something happened to him. And if he didn't pitch, which he did, that one right off the elbow of Flowers, right off that elbow pad, as it keeps that elbow out there. You can do that when you've got that giant pad like that. But for the Blue Jays, he comes out of the bullpen and makes the start tonight. They were talking yesterday that if he had to come in last night's ball game, they're going to have to go down to the minor leagues and call somebody up to make the start. That's how it's been ever since Aaron Sanchez has been on the disabled list.
The lefty to the plate. Sanchez Rips it into left field and rounding second to Beckham, and Beckham, the throw to the plate, not in time. He scores and we're tied at 1 in the bottom of the second. All this with 2 outs.
2 very quick outs. A strikeout by LaRoche, a ground out by Ramirez, then the double, the hit by a pitch, and then a ball on the inner half. Sanchez is able to pull into left field. It wasn't hit hard enough to get to Valencia, so he had no shot at getting that runner. He was off on the crack of the bat with 2 outs, and the White Sox have tied it.
A rare hit for Sanchez against lefties, hitting right-handed. He is now 4 for 31. And the pitch is a strike to Adam Eaton. Eaton, a couple of base hits last night. Prior to that, he had been really struggling at the plate. He did strike out in the bottom of the first inning tonight, but 3 for his last 22 over a 5-game stretch before his 2 hits in the game last evening. Base hit in the bottom of the first, and then a single in the 8th inning. Fouled back. How much of a catalyst is he? Well, when he scores, the White Sox are 23-12.
He needs to get on base.
Yeah,
he can run a little bit, and there's some guys behind him who can drive him in. He has had trouble driving in runs this year.
Swing and a miss. He was able to pick up a couple of hits last night off of Burley, but not the case against Dubron. Second time he struck out. We're tied at 1.
His season ticket holders to log on to mybluejays.com. Tonight, enter the code MBJ3072 to earn My Blue Jays points just for watching tonight's broadcast. The entry box can be found on your My Blue Jays homepage. Code must be entered by 11:59 tonight, and of course, we'll have another new code tomorrow. Matt?
So many Blue Jay fans here in Chicago. They have been with the Blue Jays throughout the trip. A lot of the same faces that we saw in Detroit we're seeing here in Chicago. But tonight, most of them are going to have to bundle up a little bit. Pilar, Travis, and back to the top of the order, and Ray is tied now at 1. And Pilar takes a pitch. Hitless last night, hitting .280, 7 homers, 36 RBIs. And he awaits. Quintana deals, chopped off at the end of the bat, over to second base, scooped up by Sanchez, and there's one down here.
I'll tell you, Quintana has been one of the most underrated pitchers in baseball over the last few years. He just can't get any runs, and when they do, he just can't get a bullpen to save them.
Yep.
He has had so many no decisions where he had the game won, but the bullpen blew it. 44 of them since 2012.
That's the most in the majors. How about this? His teammate Jeff Samardzija is tied for third since 2012, and he has had 39 no decisions. We've heard his name being bannered about. Of course, last year went from Chicago, former wide receiver of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and was dealt to Oakland.
That is so unsettling as a player. You come to the ballpark, put the uniform on, and you don't know how long you're going to be wearing that same uniform. You might have to say goodbye to your teammates once again.
Travis is the hitter, and it's down and in. You actually had a little bit of a stint with the White Sox.
Yep. Spring training of 1983. Played with them throughout the whole spring, and then got traded right at the end of spring training. I got traded right before spring training to the White Sox. They had me for 6 weeks and then traded me to Cleveland. It's tough. It's tough to find a home in one spot. So I certainly understand what Jeff Samardzija is going through. This time last year, he was pitching for the Cubs.
Yeah. And Oakland now here on the south side. Quintana to the plate. And a strike called on the outside edge. That's going to be the second strikeout. This one looking by the left-hander, Jose Quintana. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell for an update. Jamie, what do you have? All righty, here we are tied at 1. And Jose Reyes is the batter. He has been the lone Blue Jay to reach base. The base hit in the top of the first. He stole second. Eventually came around to score. 8 in a row retired since that time by Quintana. Shows bunt to Reyes and then pulls it back as Beckham was racing in from third.
I like this guy. He just doesn't walk anybody. He pounds that strike zone with 3 different pitches: the fastball, the breaking ball, and the changeup. He keeps it down. He moves it around, and he's left-handed.
Yeah. I mean, it's, Mets had him, Yankees had him, White Sox fortunate enough to sign him as a free agent. I mentioned he made his debut May 7th, 2012. It was against Cleveland. Worked 5 2/3 innings, gave up just 1 hit, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks, no earned runs, and they said, "Okay, guess what? You got a spot."
I don't even want to say late bloomer because he's only 26 years old.
Yeah.
And he's had success over the last couple of seasons in the big leagues. But left-handed pitchers, for some reason, it takes them a while to establish themselves, find themselves, whatever you want to call it. But this guy, he's real.
6'1", 220, signed through 2018. As the pitch is fouled back.
I wonder if the White Sox would ever think about trading him. Young enough, 26. You mentioned he signed through 2018 and a very doable contract.
And situation here in Chicago where they felt, talked about this a little bit last night, where they felt that they were not going to be in the situation that they're currently in at the bottom of the AL Central. Nice dig over there and third base, the backhand by Beckham, and then across the diamond over to Abreu, and 9 in a row set down by Quintana. It's another 1-2-3. The backhand, and it fires over to first.
Presented by the 2015 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Here in Chicago, they're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of their 2005 World Series title. And what a great run that was. Hard to believe a decade ago as Abreu hits it high in the air off to the right side. He's 0 for 1 to Mark Burley, of course, a part of that. You know, only 5 players from that team are currently playing in the big leagues, and of course Mark Burley one of them, and he's having fun.
Having fun with Fletch, the security guard.
Yeah.
Fletch has been here for 35 years.
He was nice enough to let me in to the clubhouse.
Yeah. You were with me.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've seen a lot of guys come through this door. About 35 years for sure. Travis over to first base, and there's one away. Abreu is 0 for 2, 2 ground ball outs.
All right, so I have to try and think of those other few players who are still playing. You got 5 players still playing off of that team. A.J. Pierzynski.
Yes. We have time. We have 2.5 hours. Don't worry about it. But AJ is one of them.
I'll think of him. I'm trying to concentrate on my job right now.
Absolutely. Don't worry. We have some time this evening. But 1 of 5. Dubront dealing with Melky Cabrera. Cabrera, a base hit with 2 outs in the bottom of the first inning. Here in the home half of the third, tied at 1. Dubront has given up 3 hits thus far. As he looks in, has a sign from Martin, and the 3-0. And a little hesitation by Cabrera. Okay. Is that one a strike? Is it a ball? Is it a strike? It's a ball. Okay. It's ball 4.
Melky will go up there taking pitches until he gets a strike. He's a professional hitter. And that time Dubront walked him on 4 pitches. Melky heating up.
Here's Garcia. Garcia, a 9-game hitting streak. 4 of those games multi-hit games. He's 13 for 34 during that time. He has raised his average from 262 to 277, although he grounded into a double play back in the bottom of inning number 1 to end the inning.
He is strong. He can run. He's young. But the White Sox did a heck of a job by, I don't want to say stealing him, but prying him away from the Detroit Tigers. Young player that they can stick in right field, leave him alone. Defensively, he's fine. He throws well. He's going to hit for power. He's got 7 home runs this year, 30 RBIs, but it's going to come for him.
1 away, double play, depth through the middle. Garcia waits, and the pitch down and in. And a new baseball for Martin to give to Dubront. Wind is blowing in from left field almost across the diamond. A windy day here in Chicago and a cool, brisk evening. 14 degrees. That first pitch and a swing and a miss. And Dubront, Tabby, has 4 strikeouts.
All swinging. That's a good breaking ball right there from Dubront to get Garcia. Right now, not familiar with the strike zone. Give him some more at bats and he will do that. Vulnerable to the breaking ball down. And LeBron, you're right, 4 strikeouts now. 2 2/3. Over
at first base, Cabrera, and LaRoche looks at a Strike. His father Dave was the White Sox bullpen coach back from 1989 through 1991, and he said he remembers running around and his current manager Robert Ventura being very nice to him as a youngster.
He had his brother play for the Blue Jays last year in their organization. Third baseman.
Ventura, outstanding third baseman. Played, there's a strike, played collegiately in Stillwater, Oklahoma for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Had an amazing hit streak there while he was playing. Some great baseball players played for the Cowboys, including Pete Incaviglia, Robbie Wine. Here's the 1-2. Fouled off. Robbie Wine, first round pick of the Houston Astros. Here's a shortstop. They made him a catcher. And some great teams there.
Think about Robin Ventura. What a competitor.
Yep.
What a gamer. He would bring it every day.
Breaking ball down low and away, and the count even at 2-2.
On top of being a great competitor, he was a great player. Good hitter, good fielder.
There he is right there, number 23. And the 2-2 hit in the air to deep left field, and the wind's going to hold it up as Valencia is right there. And that Walt Riniak approach. Robin Ventura. We head now to the fourth, tied at 1.
For our weekend with the Blue Jays in Buffalo, it is the Bisons taking on the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders. Saturday, July 11th, the first 3,000 fans will receive a Bisons duffel bag. And then on Sunday, the first 3,000 fans will get a Bisons affiliation replica Blue Jays or Bisons jersey. Blue Jays alumni Cecil Fielder and Mookie Wilson will also be in attendance. Go to BuffaloBisons.com for tickets. And guys, speaking of the Bisons, the guy who would have been starting tonight had DuBront not been able is Daniel Norris. And he is putting on a pretty decent run so far for the Bisons. 3 1/3 innings, has given up just 2 hits, no runs, 4 strikeouts, and most importantly, no walks so far.
That's good to hear.
I think we're going to see Daniel Norris before this season's over for the Blue Jays. Down to the minor leagues to get it straightened out, and still pretty much in their plans. I think we'll see him.
2-0 the count to Donaldson. Quintana. To the plate. And this one shot deep to right field. It opposite field. Donaldson, his second home run in as many nights, with his 21st home run of the season, and the Jays lead now 2-1.
You know, that is something that Jose Quintana does not do a lot of, is that gives up home runs. He had only given up 18 home runs since the start of last season, which is excellent in a hitter's ballpark like U.S. Cellular Field.
Bautista gets underneath it, shaking his head as he just missed that one. And Eaton is there. And there's one away.
But we have seen Josh Donaldson do this before against the Chicago White Sox. It was back at Rogers Center. Remember against David Robertson? High fastball away, and he stays behind that ball with the hands moving, the barrel follows, and he just drove that ball into the bullpen.
Number 21 on the season. Here's Encarnacion. We mentioned this earlier in the open of the show. Over his last 2 outings, he hasn't even given up a home run, and he hasn't walked a batter. Well, he's given up his first during that stretch. He's yet to walk a batter.
Boy, that was a classic swing, how you hit the ball the other way. You can't go out and get that ball. Hitters call make that ball get deep. Let it come to you. And then you can get your whole body up behind it. If you go out there to try and get, all you're hitting it with is your arms. That time he got his legs into it, the arms, everything. Just drove that ball out of here.
Encarnacion through the left side. Let's go to Jamie Campbell for an update. Jamie? 2-1 here in Chicago at U.S. Cellular Field. Donaldson, number 21. And the Jays up 2-1. And Russell Martin, who struck out in the second, is the batter. Quintana to the plate in a swing and a miss.
That is a tight little slider right there from Quintana. It's late. It's a late breaking slider. And the right-hander's having trouble against it.
Martin fouls it back. Oh, 0-2 the count now to Martin. Last time out for Quintana was against St. Louis. He had to work through 3 rain delays in St. Louis. And the 6 innings of work, he allowed just 1 run. He picked up the victory. Close at first is Encarnacion, and the pitch is down and in. And the count now 1-2. Martin goes down looking for the second time here tonight. Quintana with the second out of the inning.
Threw a slider last time that he swung through. That time it looked like a fastball right at the knees.
I think Russell thought it was a little bit lower. And that's one of the reasons why he turned to have just a quick word with Greg Gibson. Here's Chris Colabello. Colabello, it went right off the end of the bat and dribbled out. Just down the third base line, scooped up by Quintana, and there was a nice play by Abreu at first base, digging it up. A strike to Chris. Blue Jays lead 2-1 on a home run off of the bat of Josh Donaldson, and a big hack by Colabello.
You and I had a chance to talk with Chris Colabello, and we were asking him about Chris Sale. talking, what was it like facing Chris Sale? He said, you know, I got lucky hitting a home run off of him. I said, no, you didn't. You didn't get lucky. He said, I was guessing fastball. And that's the thing about Colabella. He's a very intelligent hitter. He understands his strengths, and he understands what pitchers are trying to do to him. He said Sale threw him a breaking ball and then a changeup. He figured that he was going to try and throw him a fastball, and he did. And he took him deep. Here are the numbers from Sale last night. One of 2 home runs by the Blue Jays off the tough lefty.
Yeah, he went on to say, he goes, you know, sometimes you just close your eyes and swing. Did he go around? Yes, he did. He goes, so I just closed my eyes, and I said, well, look, we saw you on replay. Your eyes weren't closed. He goes, really? That's good to know. Josh Donaldson, eyes wide open on this one as he drives it the opposite way, and the Jays lead 2-1.
A video or photo showing your Blue Jays spirit using the hashtag TDTuesday and tag @BlueJays for a chance to win one of 5 trips to Toronto. Matt?
Great day here in Chicago as Ramirez takes a look at his strike. Dubron has a 1-run lead thanks to his all-star third baseman. Ramirez, Beckham, and Flowers. And fouled off to the right side. Bottom of the 4th inning. Dubron to the plate. And a fastball up and in. Dubron went to camp with the Cubs, making 4 appearances in the spring. 7 innings, gave up 17 hits. He was released on March 28th and then picked up by the Jays on April 2nd, activated by Buffalo on May 13th.
And the reason the Blue Jays picked him up is trying to get some organization depth.
Ramirez in the air, going out is Devin Travis, and backpedaling, and he's able to make a great grab. Pilar was coming in a hurry, but I don't think he would have gotten there as Travis is able to go back, and he gives Jose that look like, yeah, I was able to come away with that one.
Had it all away. You want to turn your body and just run backwards. Gets twisted around just a little bit. You see him backpedal for a little bit, but finishes it off with a nice grab. You know, there have been questions about his defense when spring training started. Got a chance to watch him for a week in spring training. I'm like, what are the questions about? This guy can really field at second base. He's got good range. He's got a good arm. He's got very soft hands. He can do it all. And the Blue Jays did a really good job getting him from the Detroit Tiger organization.
And it's one of those trades that has actually worked out for both teams. Anthony Gose, they like him in center field. They don't need him to be a big threat offensively, just cover a lot of ground in center field where you need to cover a lot of ground, as Beckham takes a pitch. And Devin Travis, I mean, look at what he's been able to do for this Blue Jays team, and that includes even when he was out, and you look at his numbers stacked up against other rookies, and he's right there in so many categories.
Needs. I mean, there are needs for both of those organizations, Detroit and Toronto. Blue Jays felt they needed an everyday second baseman. Detroit needed a center fielder. That's the best trades right there, the ones that work for both teams.
Swing and a miss. All right, let's go to Jamie Campbell. Jamie? Two-1 here in the fourth inning and 2 away. Back in the second with 2 outs. Beckham, who just struck out, doubled and later scored. Flowers was hit by a pitch, shatters a bat in the air, settling underneath it. Valencia, and that's going to be a 1-2-3 inning, the first for the left-hander Felix Dubron. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Son.
Sportsnet.ca and listen to At the Letters. It's Sportsnet's weekly Blue Jays podcast featuring analysis, opinions, and interviews hosted by Ben Nicholson-Smith and Arden Zwelling. It's available to download every Tuesday on iTunes and on Sportsnet.ca. Some great Blue Jays conversation. Back.
Always fun to talk about the Jays and baseball. That's something that, as you know, Tabby, generation just sit around and talk about the game. It's always fun, isn't it?
That might be the best part about coming to a ball game. Yeah, you get to watch the game, yeah, but you get to talk about the game, of baseball. Come out with your friends, throw around some stories back in the day.
Valencia, Pilar, Travis here in the top of the 5th inning. Quintana with the sign. Valencia grounded out his first time up, and he takes a look at a strike. I think he felt that was a little bit outside.
I'll tell you, Quintana is starting to zero in on that outside corner against those right-handed batters of the Blue Jays. They're good pitches. Pitch track says that that's a strike.
You know, if you're the Jays, you're lucky that you have this loaded right-handed lineup that hits over 300 against Quintana, because lefties are hitting just 184 against him, and that's 6th best in the American League. Dallas Keuchel, if you're a lefty, don't bother. 126.
How about the splits the other way around? Quintana versus right-handed batters. They have been hitting them hard this year. 310.
Swing and just got a piece of it. They're going to see another lefty tomorrow. Well, the Jays.
You get John Danks, and you get Duffy in Kansas City, and this is what the Blue Jays have done this season against left-handed pitching. A .302 average, the best in the American League.
Valencia fouls this one off into the upper deck and makes its way back and down to the fourth row.
This guy right here, Danny Valencia, has made a name against left-handed pitching in his career. He has worn them out. John Gibbons was talking about that before the ball game. Someone asked him about getting Justin Smoke in there and said, we got to get our right-handed lineup in there, and Valencia has been wearing them out.
Hitting .333 with a home run and 9 RBIs is Valencia. Overall hitting .306. There's Pilar. Pilar hitting .303 against lefties as well.
That breaking ball comes into you as a right-handed batter. A lot easier to pull that thing than trying to hit the breaking ball from a right-hander.
And they're saying that he went around and he wants to check down the first base line, and Valencia feels as though he didn't go around. And a prolonged conversation with Greg Gibson, and John Gibbons is saying, why don't you check over there with Marvin Hudson?
That's 3 strikeouts in a row now for Quintana off the breaking ball.
And Gibson, you could hear him say, yes, he did, as in he went around.
Yeah, he doesn't have to check with the first base umpire if he feels like he went around. If he saw it, and right away he pointed to him and said, you went around. I don't know if a batter could ask the umpire to check, but I know a catcher can.
Quintana working quickly as well, and it's 0-2. Now the batter, Pilar. In his last 5 starts, including this one, he has 27 strikeouts in just 3 walks. Did he go? They're asking down there. And down at first base, Marvin Hudson said yes, he did. And so that's going to be the 28th strikeout.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Over the last 29 2/3 innings, he has struck out 28 batters in 3 walks. He is around the plate.
Yeah, he's around the plate, and his breaking ball is just that much better. I think that's where he's getting a lot of the strikeouts. The opponent's average versus his curveball in April, it was 267. May and through July, 238. So when you have to respect that breaking ball, he can burn that fastball in like he did right there, down and away.
And he's just a hard luck guy. I mean, he established an American League and franchise record with 17 no decisions in 2013. Fouled away off of the bat of Devin Travis. Also a franchise record of 7 consecutive no decisions back in 2013.
And here
he is.
Yeah, by Joe Hortland, who had 6. But 17 no decisions.
And he just, hey, give him the ball, and he's going to keep going out there. And so you look at the win-loss record, and you go, well, hey, it's not much to talk about, 4-7, but doesn't get any run support whatsoever. And then, you know, last year, this is a team that had 21 blown save opportunities. So you just kind of go out there, you do your work, and you keep on moving along. He is struck out now, Tabby, 5 in a row, but the Blue Jays lead here in Chicago 2-1.
Rogers Center. Join us as we turn the ballpark into a winter wonderland. Sunday, July 19th, the Blue Jays host the Rays for a 1:07 start. The first 20,000 fans will receive a pair of Blue Jays winter mittens. Go to BlueJays.com for tickets. Matt, I could use a pair of those winter mittens down here in the camera bay tonight. What happened to this weather?
No, you're exactly right. It's got that feel. You would think we're headed toward the pennant race or something.
We're a long way from that.
And we're a long way from that, but it certainly feels like it, doesn't it?
Late September.
Yep. Carlos Sanchez in back to the top of the lineup with Adam Eaton and Jose Abreu. What do you think of Dubron thus far?
I think he's thrown the ball really well. He's gotten his breaking ball over. He's throwing strikes. He's got the 5 strikeouts. He's pitching to contact. I have seen Dubron make play or starts before where he'll throw 25 pitches in an inning, 30 pitches in an inning, and start nibbling on the corners. He's been very aggressive tonight.
On the ground, Travis deals with it and over to first base to Colabello.
There's something about his windup at times, batter that just can't see the ball. I like how he stays back over the rubber, lifts that arm up, throws that glove at the hitter, and comes right over the top. And his fastball curveball combination has been good tonight.
Adam Eaton has not been able to figure him out. He has struck out twice. Donaldson in about 3 steps on the grass at third, and the first pitch is a strike. Now he backs up a couple of steps. He's on the edge of the grass. The 0-1 and a ground ball backhanded by Reyes, off balance throw, the dig, got him. Eaton cut down at first base. Reyes with a backhanded dandy and throws it over to Colabello with the dig.
And Jose, I don't think he got the full grip on that baseball, because I've seen him throw the ball a lot harder over there. First to play, in between hop catches that you can see, he just doesn't have a great grip because the ball bounces over there. But what a play by Reyes on one end to throw on the run. Yeah, that's almost like a changeup he throws over there with great arm strength, and it's picked on the other end by Colabello.
You see, Jose, like, whew, Colabello had the snow cone working over there, and you wonder with the weather, if that had any effect on that grip of the baseball, maybe a little bit more slick.
Yeah, it just looked like the transfer from the glove to the hand, it just didn't get in there cleanly, but still had enough on it to make the throw.
Abreu, a 2-out hit to right field. And that's going to bring up Melky Cabrera. He's been up twice. He's been on base twice. Has 3 hits already here in this 4-game series. Backhanded stab by Donaldson. The strong throw to first. What a play by the All-Star at third base. Back of the bag. The backhander. And then the throw to first base. Josh Donaldson flashing the leather. Look at this. Sliding. Gets up. Time. Gathers. Throws. Got him.
You may want to pick up the new edition of the Sportsnet magazine. It's a 90s edition, and in it, we'll discuss what if the Yankees missed out on Derek Jeter. The magazine also includes a great interview with the Blue Jays' Roberto Osuna. Find out how you can download the magazine for free. Visit sportsnet.ca/magazine. Matt?
Nighttime beginning to fall upon us here in Chicago as the Blue Jays lead 2-1. It's going to be Reyes, Donaldson, and Bautista. The last 5 Blue Jays have struck out facing the left-hander. Jose Quintana rocks back and brings the 0-1 to Reyes. Reyes, great at bat in the top of the first inning, Tabby, as he was able to get a base hit through the right side, stole second. Ground ball by Donaldson got him to third, and a ground ball off of the bat of Bautista. And Jose scored. It's now 2-1.
Well, he hit a curveball with 2 strikes against Quintana in that first inning. You're talking about the good at bat that he had against him. I don't think he's going to get another one, at least not for a strike. Pitchers have been pounding Reyes inside and up with that fastball. With Jose is batting right-handed.
Turns on that one and hits it foul. Quintana, and we talked about how he is just always around the dish. He's issued 3 walks or less 97 times over his 103 career starts. 97 of the 103.
That's what it's all about. Be around the plate, make quality pitches, fill it up, right? Fill up the strike zone.
He has issued 1 walk or less 44 times in his career. And that one misses away, and the count 2-2. And we saw that last night with Sale and Burley both going about it different ways, but both getting it done. And Quintana here right around the plate. Dubront's done an excellent job this time. Out on the hill as Ramirez handles it and fires over to first base for the out. Drive of the Game is brought to you by the 2015 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car, 17 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Josh Donaldson's going to break a tie here in the 4th inning on this pitch away from him. I love the high leg kick. He stays behind that ball and drives it out of here for his 21st home run. With the Blue Jays up 2-1. That's where we are here in the 6th inning. The drive of the game, Donaldson.
The lefty has allowed just 19 home runs this season. Pardon me, since 2014. That's only his 9th this season.
Well, he's going to just add to his total bases. Yeah. And I love this stat for hitters. 185 total bases now. That means you're getting a lot of extra base hits. You get 4 for a home run, obviously, 3 for a triple, 2 for a double. You know he's got those extra base hits in that bat.
Breaking ball down and in the dirt. Yeah, he's allowed just 19 home runs since 2014. Coming into tonight's game, he was tied with Danny Duffy, Dallas Keuchel, and Max Scherzer for the 5th fewest among American League starters who had made at least 30 starts during that stretch.
And that's just number 9.
Yeah. Donaldson hit number 21. And broken bat, and going back is Sanchez, and Sanchez is able to make the grab, and so there are 2 away here in the top of the 6th inning, and Jose Bautista is the batter.
That's a good fastball by Quintana. He ties up and breaks the bat of Josh Donaldson, and just like Devin Travis a couple of innings ago, he goes back on the ball at second base and plucks it out of the air.
Donaldson hitting .343 against lefties, and his 6th home run back in the fourth, and the Jays lead 2-1. Bautista looks at a ball. He's 0 for 2. He's yet to get a base hit here in the series. Game 2 of a 4-game set, and the pitch down and in.
He's just missed his pitch a couple of times.
Absolutely.
Here in Chicago. I remember yesterday's game against Chris Sale. He had a hittable pitch and missed it, flew out. He did that his last time up.
And a strike.
Laying back on that back leg a long time.
The 2-1, here it is. And it's now 3-1. Bautista leads the American League in walks with 65. And as we noted, Quintana doesn't walk many. So expect this one to be right around in there. And let's see what Bautista can do with it. The 3-1. Strike 2.
Breaking ball. Another breaking ball. He's not afraid to challenge you. If there's one thing that pitchers could have learned from last night's start with Burley and Sale, if you make quality pitches, you're going to get good hitters out.
Full count. Quintana to Bautista. And this one ripped down the left field line, and it is curving foul. Yeah, he was sitting back on that one, wasn't he?
Yeah, a little bit too quick on that one. See him shake his head just a little bit, and he knows he should have hit that one.
Let's see what he gets here with the count of 3-2. And 2 away in the top of the 6th. And this one fouled right back. As Quintana said, all right, here it is.
That's what I love about him. He's not afraid to challenge great home run hitters like Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion, and the rest of the guys in the Blue Jay lineup. A lot of times pitchers will run from these guys and just try and nibble.
3-2. Ground ball to the first baseman, Abreu, and that's going to do it. A 1-2-3 inning once again. But the Blue Jays do lead 2-1 as we travel now to the bottom of the 6th inning here on the south side.
Presented by Bacardi are back. The first one goes July 17th when the Blue Jays host the Rays at 7:07. Get to the ballpark early for our pregame festival outside Gate 10. Gates will open that day at 4:30 p.m. and you can enjoy a live performance by special guest Dean Brody in the license area. Go to BlueJays.com for more details. I mentioned they may have some hot beverages there too if it's anything like tonight.
A little coffee tonight to warm you up. Felix Dubron, he's done a solid job as we head now to the 6th, and it's going to be Garcia, LaRoche, and Ramirez. And Greg Zahn mentioned this: avoid the big inning and then get through 5. Well, he's done that. He's into the 6th. and see if he can keep on motoring along here.
He looks fine. And on a cool night like tonight, you're not going to get worn down.
And the other thing, he's facing an offense that hasn't been that potent. Donaldson, the off-balance throw over to first base in time. And there's one away in the home half of the 6th.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
So you had some time. We got Burley and A.J. Przinsky with the 5 White Sox who played on the 2005 World Championship team, the World Series team that won it all.
Let me ask you something. Was Brandon McCarthy on that team?
Yes, he was.
He was on that team?
He was on that team.
He must have been a young player.
Yeah.
He's still playing, although he's
playing.
not playing. He's on the disabled list with the Los Angeles Dodgers, so that's 3.
That's 3. Those are the 5. There's 5. You got 3 of them. The 0-1.
I got to set my Wayback Machine way back. 10 years.
I told you we have time, but you did. You've done well.
All right. Well, I'll keep thinking while I keep watching this ball game. And I'll let you know when I think I come up with another one.
It's tough to multitask like that.
Telling you.
Got the shift on, and LaRoche, did he go around? They're going to check down the third base line. Sam Holbrook worked the plate last night, says no, he didn't. And the count 2-2.
You know, one thing I've noticed about Dubront, he's never overthrown the pitch. He's just stayed relaxed, nice and easy.
High in the air, left side. Valencia is going to run out of room. One away here in the 6th. He's walked just 1. He has struck out 5.
He has done an excellent job with Russell Martin as they are working their way through the Chicago White Sox offense. But he hasn't overthrown. He has just stayed nice and relaxed. He stayed over that rubber. Ball's coming out of his hand nice and easy tonight.
And he just struck out LaRoche. That's his 6th.
Well, the strikeout has been a good play for him tonight. Watch how easy the ball comes out, and the breaking ball's got a little something on it. His hand is being able to get out in front, so he doesn't overthrow that ball. The curveball has been dealing, and then the changeup, and that's what was the key at the beginning of this game. If he can throw his curveball over, his breaking ball over for strikes, and use his changeup and then spot his fastball, he'll have success.
And a strike at the knees of Alexei Ramirez. He worked 1-2-3 inning in a row. That was in the 4th. Other than that, he's gotten the first couple of outs, and then he's allowed a base hit here or there, but he's done a good job shutting down the White Sox thus far. 1 run, that was back in the 2nd. Granted, they're not a big bopper type of team as Ramirez swings through it.
They don't have a lot of power, and they don't score a lot of runs. The Blue Jays, on the other hand, they have scored almost 200 runs more than the White Sox this year.
Pitch in the dirt. And yet last night they had Sale, and he's so tough. But yet a couple of solo home runs. Got a great outing from Burley in his 4th complete game of the season, 33rd in his career. And down the line, it's Ramirez, and this one is foul. Ramirez turns on it. Only has 2 home runs this year. All right, here's the comparison. You know, one's the best in the game. The other one is
towards the bottom of the bunch in the American League. A 281 average for the Blue Jays. Look at the home runs, 112 to just 58 for the White Sox.
Through the right side, past the diving Travis, and a base hit for Ramirez into right field. That's going to bring up Beckham, who scored their lone run after a 2-out double in the second.
That's the 4th time tonight that Dubron has gotten the first 2 batters of an inning and then gave up a base runner. So I guess if you're going to give them up, that's the best time with 2 outs and nobody on. Tough to start rallies with 2 outs.
A runner taken off for second. And Ramirez had a great jump as he steals second base.
He went on first movement. The first thing that Dubron did, as soon as he started picking up that leg, there goes Ramirez. Watch him. He walks off, sees the first movement from Felix Dubron, and no chance for Russell Martin to throw him out. You see him walk off the base, and he steals it without a throw.
Gordon Beckham 1 for 2. Runner at second. That's a tying run here in the bottom of the 6th, and a pitch down and in. See if Dubron can work himself out of this here in the 6th inning. Martin, the 4-time All-Star, was an All-Star for the Yankees in 2011, 2007, and 2008 with the Dodgers. Sets up inside, and that pitch misses. And the count now 3-0.
The team has been struggling to score runs. You mentioned that. The Chicago White Sox. Robin Ventura might let Gordon Beckham go right here and just let him swing away. He has some power. At least he's had power in his career. Take a shot.
Dubron with the 3-0 and a strike. Beckham just 4 home runs this year. Last night the White Sox could just muster 4 runs all unearned. Well, it was enough. On the ground, Reyes scoops it up over to first base in time, and Dubron gets out of a jam here in the 6th inning, and through 6 innings here at U.S. Cellular Field. Blue Jays lead 2-1. By authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership, it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Two-1 here as we head to the top of the 7th inning. Encarnacion, Martin, and Colabello to face Quintana. And both pitchers They have done a solid job thus far. And a swing and a miss. Low scoring game here. And Quintana keeping the Jays at bay, but yet the Jays lead by a run. Of their 4 runs in this series thus far, 3 of them home runs, solo blasts.
Good pitching. You get good pitching from Chris Sale, and now again Jose Quintana.
Chopped to the third baseman Beckham, who backs up and makes the throw.
Well, Jose Quintana, you can see he got off to a rocky start in the month of April. His first 3 starts, his ERA was over 8. The batting average against 333, but since then he has become the pitcher that he has been the last couple of years, and I think a lot of it has to do with the breaking ball. He's starting to get that over, curveball getting that over, and throwing the fastball in a good spot. He has had some pretty decent games for the White Sox since then. He had a 10 strikeout game back in May against Milwaukee in 7 innings. I mentioned that last game he had against St. Louis, 6 innings and 8 strikeouts in that game. But his walks are going down.
Now, he's used to being in this situation as Martin tries to figure him out here. The 4-time All-Star struck out in the second as well as the fourth. The count of 2-0, and Quintana with the 2-0 pitch and a strike. In 7 of his starts, he has gotten 0 or 1 run in offensive support. In 7 of them. Right back to the pitcher and over to first base.
And this is his 17th start of the season. See, he just doesn't get any of the runs. This is one of the lowest run support in all of baseball. Corey Kluber gets 2 runs a game. You mentioned the Quintana, Weaver, Hernandez, and Danks.
We'll see him tomorrow.
And Robin Ventura talked about that the other day. He says, you know, for all the great pitching we've gotten, you still have to score runs. You still have to put runs on the board to help your team win. It's nice that you're pitching well and you got the good ERA, but they want to win.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is score me some runs.
Colabello into right field for a 2-out single going the other way. In his 4 wins, he's 4-7 this year with the 3.81 ERA. In his 4 wins, how about this? His ERA?
It's got to be microscopic against that as Colabello fights off that fastball that stops the consecutive streak. 10 in a row set down by Quintana.
1.07.
Yeah, it had to be.
Right? I mean,
they don't score many runs. How would he look with the Blue Jays? How many wins would he have right now if he pitched for the Blue Jays?
He might be like 11-0. Looks over at first base. Colabello there. Valencia is the hitter. And the pitch is fouled back. Outfield straight away. As you mentioned, they had a string of 10 in a row shut down. 5 of those, 5 consecutive strikeouts. And Valencia looks at a strike on the inner half. Valencia, he had 4 at-bats last night. He only saw 8 pitches. Had 2 1-pitch at-bats and a 2-pitch at-bat. He's 2 for 11 lifetime against Quintana. And we've seen more pitches here tonight. Colabello at first with a lead. Abreu holds him on, and Quintana to the plate. And the pitch down and in. Quintana thought he had that one.
Thought he had it, but it was just off the plate. Good call right there and a good take by Valencia. It's a quality pitch. Out and in. Hasn't struck out a batter since the 5th inning.
And that one hops up there. And the count now runs full. A good at bat for Valencia.
I think this pitch right here will tell a lot about Jose Quintana and how he's feeling right now. That runner at first base is going to take off. An extra base hit will score him. Let's see if he goes right after him or if he throws him a breaking ball. 3-2.
Colabello at first. And they're going to check in on him. And he is back. Valencia with a count of 3-2, and the Jays up 2-1. And he fouls this one back. Quintana's allowed just 4 hits. One of them a solo home run in the 4th, and that's why the Jays lead. That was the 21st by Donaldson. Strike 3 on the inner half. Fastball down and in. Strike 3, his 8th. Jays lead. Plays tonight for the Jays after a rough one last night.
Yeah, Jose Reyes is going to make a play here. I thought the Blue Jays made all kind of great plays in last night's ball game, and they're doing it again tonight. This is one of the finest plays at third base, as Donaldson sets and makes a strong throw across the diamond. When you play against a team with a good pitching staff like the Chicago White Sox, runs are going to be at a premium. You have to play good defense. The Jays have done that, and they have gone to the bench to make that defense just a little bit stronger. Justin Smoke has come in to play first base here in the 7th inning. But the Jays playing that good defense, and it's unfortunate for them. The one last night where they didn't make the play ended up costing them the ball game.
And the bottom of the 8th inning. But there were some good plays. Colabello had a nice double play, a 3-6-3 double play in the 3rd last night. And then also the line drive off of the bat of LaRoche, and he dove to tag out Garcia and Pilar in the 5th inning. That great play taken away a would-be homer off the bat of Flowers. And then Sanchez right back through the middle. That was off of the right ankle of Burley. And Donaldson scooped it up and threw him out over at first. Flowers on the ground. Reyes, the long throw, and Smoke unable to dig it up.
Well, I hope this isn't the 8th inning all over again in the 7th inning. An easy play by Reyes, and he's going to be charged now with his 8th error as Smoke can't come up with it. He's got plenty of time with Flowers running the catcher. Catches it, you can see, doesn't really cut down the distance between shortstop and first base. It's a half a crow hop. He's got plenty of time and throws it into the dirt, and Smoke cannot come up with it, and the White Sox have the leadoff runner on.
Sanchez squares to bunt, and this one rolls foul, scooped up by Smoke.
One more time, catches it. Now the catcher's running. You got plenty of time. You can see it's not a full, 1, 2, even 3 crow hop steps. You start to cut the distance down of that long throw, making it a lot easier. But he throws it in the ground, and Smoke can't come up with it.
Dubront with a 1-run lead. Donaldson at third, creeping in as Sanchez fouls this one off to the right side.
Took the punt off and let him go ahead and hit away, see if he can find a hole.
Two strikes on the number 9 hitter Sanchez, and he fouls this one straight back. And here we go, very much like last night. 2 strong pitching performances. See Bo Schultz, who went to Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, suburb of Chicago, getting set. Double play opportunity. Reyes over to second out. Travis over to first, and a double play. Just what they needed, and they got it. 6-4-3 double play.
When you make an error as an infielder, you want that next ball to hit to you. You want it so you can prove that error wasn't a good thing. That wasn't going to happen again. And once you know the ball comes right to Reyes, so he redeems himself as Blue Jays turn a very tough double play.
So 2 outs here in the 7th, and Adam Eaton. Eaton 0 for 3, has struck out twice, and he looks at a strike.
You got to want that ball in the infield. And Reyes, after that, you saw the reaction after that double play. Felt good about his pitcher picking him up.
Right back through the middle. Dubront unable to flag it down. And Eaton now 1 for 4. And John Gibbons is going to come out with Jose Abreu, the next scheduled batter, who's 1 for 3. And Dubront working 6 2/3. Gibbons takes the baseball from the lefty. And Bo Schultz trots in. It's up to the bullpen now. Pitching coach Pete Walker in conversation with Felix Dubron.
Got to be happy with the outing tonight for Felix Dubron. Gets the Blue Jays into the 7th inning with the lead. They'll turn it over to the bullpen. Bo Schultz into the game. Nice numbers through 10 games. Bo last worked on Sunday when he threw a couple of innings following Marco Estrada's start. That was in Detroit. Bo throws hard. Good hard sinking fastball and a good hard slider. And John Gibbons wants a little bit more power on that mound against this hitter.
On the ground, Reyes backhands, goes a short way, and that's going to do it. One pitch and an out here. And through 7, Jays lead 2-1.
...2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Jose Quintana, 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, and he has struck out 8. And here in the top of the 8th inning, Pilar, Travis, and Reyes. Can the Jays pick up maybe one more run?
And sticking to the script, he's losing.
Yeah.
As well as he has pitched.
He's been there before.
Yeah.
Folks, you'd know his name if he got a little bit of run support, right? Because his numbers in the win-loss column would certainly read a lot different.
I'll tell you what, they would be watching him at the All-Star game if he got a few more runs.
Pilar grounded out in the 3rd, struck out in the 5th. One of the 8 strikeouts for the lefty. And a chopper right back to the mound, and he'll flip it over to first base. All right, let's check in with Jamie Campbell, see what's in store. Jamie? So the A's with the lead there, that could certainly help out the Blue Jays if they could hold on here. 1 out, Devin Travis, and Travis looks at a strike. Had a 7-game hit streak end last night. Was hitting .428 during the last 8 games. Handled by Ramirez, and a high throw that pulls Abreu off of the bag. 10th error by Ramirez.
You know, he too, Ramirez, had time on that play and threw that ball flat-footed for some reason. This is a team, the Chicago White Sox, came into this game with 57 errors. Watch as he catches the ball, flat-footed, and then throws flat-footed, and wouldn't you know it, that ball takes off on him. And Abreu does everything he can to keep that ball from going into the stands. High throw. And the Blue Jays certainly will take that. Now let's see if they can take advantage of the error.
Reyes is the batter, singled and scored, as well as a stolen base back in the first. And Donaldson a solo home run in the fourth to begin the fourth. That represents 2 runs for the Blue Jays. And over to first base to check on Travis on a cool evening at the start of the game. 14 degrees, and it's not at 14 anymore.
This will probably be Jose Quintana's last battle. All right, here with the big thumpers coming up behind Reyes, the big right-handers. They've got Jake Petrichka warming up in the bullpen. Robin Ventura's gotten everything he can out of his starter tonight.
In the air, foul territory. Abreu racing there and sliding and unable to make the catch.
Abreu's holding that runner on, so he had a long way to go, and the ball wasn't hit that high by Reyes. And Jose Abreu just can't come up with it. There's Jake Petrichka. He's loose and ready if Ventura wants to go to him after this at bat.
Hitting above 300 in the early part of July is Reyes as he fouls it off to the right side. The numbers with 2 strikes, 272. 1 away here in the top of the 8th inning as Travis takes a lead. On the ground, could be 2. Over to second out, on to first in time. 4-6-3 double play to end the top of the 8th inning. Blue Jays Central. Here's the update. Be working 6 2/3.
Gave up just that 1 earned run, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. I didn't see him overthrow 1 pitch tonight. He's really stayed in his lanes and worked well with Russell Martin all night long. And John Gibbons was saying before the ball game, if he pitches well, he'll get another turn. So I guess that means that Sunday in Kansas City, he'll get the start against the Royals. But I've been impressed. He did a good job.
Gibby said, here's your shot. And all depending upon how he performed would determine whether or not you'd see him again as a starter. And so as Schultz pours in a fastball there, more than likely you will see him again. Clutching on to a 2-1 lead here in the bottom of the 8th as Cabrera turns around to bat left. He is 1 for 2 with a walk, all against Dubron. Bull Schultz threw one pitch to Abreu and got that force out at second base. That was to end the bottom of the 7th inning. Garcia and LaRoche to follow. And the big right-hander deals, and watch out. Cabrera over by the bat boy. And
Garcia, the on deck batter is like, hey, the field's out there.
Exactly.
Hit it out that way. But those last 2 pitches from Bo Schultz shows you why he is so tough. One ball went one way, and the other one went the other way.
And that one is headed down to third base as Cabrera strikes out. He fanned at it. And that's the first strikeout for the right-hander Schultz.
He's got a good fastball. He can sink it and he can cut it. And Gibby said that he was going to pitch him in a little bit higher leverage type of situations. And here he is in the 8th inning. Finished off the 7th and now the 8th, and he's got to face the middle of the order of the White Sox. Tell you what, it doesn't get any more high leverage than that.
Yeah, especially considering, here you are on this road trip 1-3. You could be 2-2. You know of the struggles on the road, 17-24 overall. You're a game above 500. And the White Sox have done a great job against a very potent offense. And so as Greg Zalmas is talking about, this kind of takes you back a little bit. This is, a 2-1 game. Got a defensive change. You got smoke out there. You're trying to do all the little things.
Well, what the pitchers have done is they've thrown a lot of pitches for strikes. They've attacked the strike zone, and they've actually put the batters, the hitters, on the defensive.
Garcia 0 for 3 on the night. Schultz stares in.
Stay with that hard sinker. Tough to get that ball elevated.
Here's the 2-2. Swing and a miss. Martin's going to throw it down to first base to Smoke, and that is the second out, second consecutive strikeout. And Adam LaRoche, who has struck out already twice, will make his way to the plate. But before that, Gibbons is making his way to the mound.
Yeah, he has already called for the left-hander right here. He's got a plan in mind right here. What a job by Bo Schultz. 3 batters up, 3 down, and they will go to the left-hander loop against the left-hander LaRoche.
Aaron Loup, the left-hander, making his 39th appearance of the season.
You see the numbers right there from Loup, 2-4 with a .512 earned run average. He has pitched better than the numbers would indicate. He's given up a lot of hits that have just blooped in and they found their holes. But right now, his job is to get the left-hander. Lefties this season hitting .261 off of Aaron. Feels like he is in much better straight shape. He feels he is much stronger this year.
LaRoche batting just .195 at home this season. 6th worst mark in the American League. 2-0 the count. Now 3-0. Schultz, phase 3, set down 3, and Pete Walker quickly to the phone. Let's see if Loup can come back and get LaRoche.
Roberto Osuna is throwing now, and then if Aaron Loup loses him, we might see him in the game here.
Ground ball right to Smoke at first. He'll take it himself. And Aaron Loup coming back to get LaRoche. Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion.
Returns Sunday. Don't miss the season premiere of The Strain, Sunday at 10 Eastern and Pacific, only on FX. And one guy who was not straining tonight, gentlemen, is Mr. Daniel Norris, who's serving notice that he wants to rejoin this Blue Jays team. Guys, tonight, pitching for the Buffalo Bisons, 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts, and not a single batter walked. He's either going to get called back up at some point, or it's going to be a guy people are going to be calling Alex Anthopoulos about when it comes to possible trades.
Jake Petrichka into the ball game now. 33 games this year for Petrichka. 2-2 at .310 earned run average. Petrichka's got a good ball, a sinking fastball, a lot of late movement, a lot of late life where he gets a lot of ground ball outs. He also has 6 holds this year. His last one on Friday against Baltimore. Big right-hander is the setup man in front of David Robertson for the White Sox.
Donaldson looks at a ball and he didn't go around. As they check on first base umpire Marvin Hudson, he said no. His solo home run in the 4th. That's why the Jays lead 2-1. Petrichka to the plate. And it's now 3-0. And Bautista is the next up. And then Encarnacion. Jays 9-16 in one-run games, and Petrichka walks to lead off batter here.
The 2015 Honda Civic is Canada's best-selling car for 17 years in a row and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Petrichka walks Donaldson. Let's see if Bautista can make him pay. Top of the ninth inning. We have seen a couple of good ball games here, the first two, haven't we?
Yeah, great baseball games. One-run game tonight for the Jays as they lead in the ninth inning. Yesterday was a great game between two pitchers that battled one another pitch for pitch. I mentioned that Petrichka throws a lot of ground balls, and with the runner at first base, you got to think about the double play ball. He has thrown the most double play balls since the beginning of last season in all of baseball. 19 grounded into double plays.
There's a strike. Second round selection in 2010 by the White Sox. Was selected out of high school by the Yankees, didn't sign. Petrichka with a runner over at first. That's Donaldson. And the pitch, swing and a miss.
Took a little something off of that one and messed up the timing on Bautista. You can see he's got that natural movement on all those pitches. That one went in. He can also make that ball go away from right-handers.
Comes set, and the 2-2. And Bautista's going to go back and get another bat. That was in on the hands.
I would imagine that he gets a lot of broken backs. That's the way he throws. Upper 90s with that fastball at times with good movement. Jose a little bit too quick on that one. Broke his back.
Blue Jays lead 2-1 here in the top of the ninth inning. Osuna will see Ramirez, Beckham, and Flowers in the bottom of the ninth. A 2-2 up and in, and the count now runs full. Donaldson back at first.
They might start the runner here just to stay out of that double play. Donaldson is 3 for 3 in stolen bases this season.
There he goes, and the 3-2 is fouled off.
Certainly makes a lot of sense to start that runner. Gamble that Bautista's not going to swing through it, but I still like my chances with Donaldson running.
Yeah.
Tyler Flowers has only thrown out 3 base runs all season long. He's given up 34 stolen bases.
Donaldson goes again, ground ball, and with him going right at second base, there he was Sanchez, and then over to first.
Boy, that isn't fair.
No.
Sometimes hitting just is not fair. They start the runner to stay out of the double play, and the only way you're going to turn a double play is like that. Second baseman right there catches it, steps on the bag, and throws the ball to first base. And the Blue Jays, trying to avoid the double play, unfortunately hit into one.
Encarnacion. And the pitch. A fastball at 96 off the plate. Had to win 1 for 3. Jays lead 2-1 here in the top of the 9th inning. Petrechka, and it's down and away, and the count now 2-0. Led All-American League rookies last season with 14 saves. '27-year-old right-hander. And this one driven deep. And it is off the wall. Eaton plays it off the wall. Encarnacion racing to second. Got him. Encarnacion gave it a ride. Eaton throws him out at second. And so here we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. And the Blue Jays lead 2-1.
Stretch it. He is gunned down by Eaton. Let's go to the bottom of the 9th with the Jays up by 1. Gets to blow a bubble after that great play to end the top of the 8th inning. He'll pick up his 6th outfield assist, and it's a good one because Encarnacion recognizes that that ball is not going to leave the ballpark, so he hustles out of the box, and this is a good gamble. With 2 outs, let's see if I can get myself into scoring position, and it took a fine throw by Eaton to get him. So that ended the top of the inning. Let's head to the bottom of the 9th inning, and now Suna's going to come in now to try and save this one.
36th appearance in a 2-1 game in the bottom of the 9th inning.
Roberto saved that 3rd game in Detroit on Sunday. As you see him get ready, Osuna threw an inning in the 3rd as Carrera comes in to play left field for the Blue Jays. It took him 4 outs to pick up that save. He gave up a hit and had a strikeout against the Tigers.
Ramirez, Beckham, and Flowers here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Jays here in a little bit of an unfamiliar territory in a 2-1 game. Low scoring here on the south side the last 2 nights, but they've both been excellent games to watch. And wouldn't the Jays love to move on from last night and what happened in the bottom of the 8th inning? The unearned runs, all 4 of the ones that the White Sox scored last night unearned, but a solid performance. In fact, great by Burley and great by Sale. And we saw a couple of other starters tonight, 2 lefties that were impressive as well.
Underrated, number 1 for Jose Quintana, and a great job by the Blue Jays, Felix Dubron in his first start as a Blue Jay. Pitches into the 7th inning, 6 strikeouts. Now can Osuna save for him?
Yankees lost. The Orioles and the Rays are losing. And Osuna is going to try to put away Ramirez. A ground ball. Reyes with it. Not in time. Safe at first is Ramirez.
Ball hit right over Osuna. Reyes had a long way to go to get that ball. He just couldn't cut across the diamond and try and cut it off. And then even with that strong arm, it's going to be just late. As you see him on the bag, the ball not in the glove of Smoke as he does everything to try and stretch for that one. And Jose just couldn't cut across the diamond and catch the ball faster and get rid of it quicker. Hit right up the middle.
Ramirez at first, and bunting is Beckham in the air, and Martin unable to catch up with it. Tying run is aboard.
There's J.B. Shuck, who has picked up a bat and moved on deck. That's Tyler Flowers' spot in the batting order for the White Sox. Mr. Martin now is going to go out and talk to Osuna. I think the game plan changes just a little bit if Beckham is now trying to sacrifice that runner.
So a word there from Martin to Osuna. Ramirez, infield base hit, takes a lead. Osuna comes set. Donaldson coming in at third, squaring to bunt. Right out in front of the plate, scooped up by Osuna and over to first. A sac bunt, and Ramirez at second. All right, now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here's Ken and Ivanka. All right, we look forward to that. And right here in the bottom of the 9th inning, the tying run here in Chicago is at second base. And J.B. Shuck is the batter, making his 43rd appearance this season, hitting .288. Pitch hitting duty here.
The sacrifice was successful, so you come up and you bring your best pinch hitter into this situation right here. Shuck has 5 hits this year as a pinch hitter.
Osuna leans in. Martin flashes the signs. Ramirez, representing the tying run, is at second. Osuna to the plate, and the pitch misses down, and a count of 1-0. So the infield single, a sac bunt by Beckham, and Ramirez is at second. White Sox scored in the 2nd. They threatened in the 6th and didn't score.
The infield has to be on their toes to knock anything down and keep it on the infield.
In the air and giving chase, Donaldson. Donaldson toward the tarp, diving over and unable to come away with it. And then he goes back to check and see if the fan's okay, and everybody's wondering, are you okay?
Tell you what, he never gives up on a play, especially in a situation like this. We all know about the play that he made in Tampa Bay, diving into the stands. I asked him the next day, have you had a play like that? And he goes, yeah, the tarp play. And if you remember, that happened in San Francisco when he was with Oakland. Dived on dove on the tarp to make a play just like that. I like that. He goes back in and makes sure the fan's okay.
What a gamer. Shuck with the 1-1 count on him, and it's now 1-2.
One more time. He's not going to give up on anything. He's going to sacrifice his body to try and make the catch, and he lands on the fan. Make sure that he is okay. That last pitch right there, I think that's where he needs to pitch. Shuck. Fastball's up. Fastball's down. It's a little bit easier for a hitter to get the barrel to the ball.
This one hit in the air, slicing foul and out of play.
His best pitch is a fastball. Osuna. He does have a good changeup. I don't know if you want to sacrifice it or try it right here if that's your second best pitch.
Last 11 games, Shuck hitting .353, chokes up just a little bit on the bat, trying to put it in play. Tying run at second. Did he go around? And no, says the third base umpire, Sam Holbrook. 2-2 the count now. Tying run at second. Jays trying to pick up their second win on this lengthy road trip before the All-Star break. Osuna looks at Ramirez at second to 2-2, and it gets away from Martin. And the nerves a little bit rattled here.
That one looked like it might have hit right on top of the plate. Looked like an off-speed pitch right off the plate. And no chance for Russell to try and block that one. Now the infield has to come in.
Wild pitch. And the count 3-2. Tying run 90 feet away. And the 3-2 is hit in the air a long way for left fielder. And able to make the catch. Out in left field is Carrera. Carrera out there in left field.
Ball just wasn't hit deep enough to try it right here. Carrera comes charging in, makes the catch. And how about Roberto Osuna back in that play up? In perfect fundamental position, just in case that ball got by the catcher.
Ezequiel Carrera playing left now. And there are two away. Connor Gillespie is going to hit for Carlos Sanchez. Osuna to Gillespie. A swing and a miss. Tying run 90 feet away. Infield base hit by Alexi Ramirez. A sac bunt by Beckham. A wild pitch. And Ramirez has a 3-step lead at third. Osuna trying to pick up the save and a W for his Blue Jays. Gillespie pinch hitting for Sanchez. And the 0-1 fouls it back ahead in the count 0-2.
As you see Gillespie swing, he swings a lot like J.B. Shuck, the previous hitter.
Do you go up again in the zone?
Up. He's got a short swing, just trying to make contact, and it's easier again for a hitter to reach that fastball down. You just throw your hands down at the ball. When it's up like that, it's tough to get on top of that ball, tough to catch up to a good fastball, and Osuna's got a dynamite fastball.
0-2 the count, 2 away. Ramirez at third, and the 97-mile-per-hour fastball poured in there, just misses away. Blue Jay fans holding their breath here. Osuna comes set. The 1-2 hit high in the air. Foul ground toward the dugout of the White Sox. Donaldson is there, and the All-Star makes the catch, and the Blue Jays win it here on the south side, 2-1. Osuna gets the save.
Okay, if you're going to win, you've got to get good pitching, and that's what we saw tonight from the Blue Jays. They got their starter, Dubront, got him into the 7th inning, and then John Gibbons took it from there. He used Schultz, Loop, and then Osuna to win it. Blue Jays just enough hitting against a tough pitcher in Quintana to win Game 2 of this 4-game series.
The would-be tying run left there 90 feet away, and the Blue Jays win it 2-1. All right, time now for Sportsnet Central with Ken and Ivanka. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Nice July night, huh?